roughly speaking, order of magnitude, a significant amount of territory has been seized over the course of 6, 8, 10 months sort of thing by the Taliban. There's a possibility of a negotiated outcome that's still out there. There's a possibility of a complete Taliban takeover or a possibility of any number of other scenarios.
Well, that was General Milley awkwardly trying to defend his dismount from Afghanistan, meaning America's, as he acknowledged that a complete Taliban takeover is possible in Afghanistan, with the Islamist group making significant gains as U.S. troop withdrawal is massive, quick, and going to be done by the end of August. Let's bring in Fox News senior strategic analyst, retired four-star General Jack Keane. General, when I was reading that, you saw, people saw at home, the map right now of Afghanistan with the Taliban in control. What's significant about what they control and what they don't control?
Yeah, certainly. Well, you know, the chairman's marks are certainly fortuitous. I mean, there is a possibility here with the momentum that the Taliban have gained, largely due to lack of U.S. presence, particularly air power and in robust intelligence capability, which gets you to be able to figure out what the Taliban is up to. That is a possibility, certainly, that the Taliban is going to take control. And let's think about this. I mean, certainly President Biden, when he made the decision to pull all U.S. forces out, does not want the Taliban to take control and al-Qaeda and ISIS to resurge, which we know would likely happen. But reasonable people can be on both sides of that decision. And we have discussed that right here on Fox and Friends, the details of that decision. But what they failed to do is put in place a good transition and strategy to deal with the situation without those 2,500 U.S. forces on the ground. And you can see the scraping around to try to find places to position our airplanes, to work out a strategy dealing with the security of the Kabul airport that was not in place. Yep. So we have a huge problem on our hands. Half of those districts, as the map indicates, are under the control of the Taliban. Now, the Afghan security forces willingly gave some of that up because without air power, they can't defend throughout the entire country. So they're consolidating their forces around the provincial capitals, which there are 34, and they're still in control of those. But the Taliban at some point is going to exert pressure on those capital cities, and it's coming. They may wait until the 31st of August when U.S. forces are officially out. I think they'll probably start to move before that. Right. And that is an ideal time to use U.S. air power. Now, I am encouraged by something. Our viewers may not know it, but the U.S. air power was applied for the first time in months in support of the Afghan security forces this week on Wednesday and Thursday, 4 times. That is a good thing. And hopefully that plan will continue as we go into the future, because that would be very decisive. And, you know, and we got to think about regionally what's happening here. Russia, China, and certainly Iran are all the beneficiaries of this. But at the same time, I'm convinced those 3 countries do not want the Taliban in control with a robust al-Qaeda presence in Afghanistan. That's not in any of their interests. Right. And so there's things that we can do here. Exactly.
General, you were never saying keep staying there forever. You were saying keep a small force there with air power. It would have kept them at bay forever. Their number 2 came out over the weekend and said, in spite of our gains and advances, they favor talks and a political settlement with the government. So keep in mind, they're not as optimistic when it comes to taking the capital. You also wanted to talk about, and I agree, the WHO, for some reason, is beginning to understand that China is not being transparent with this pandemic investigation, and they want additional access to the lab to further study the origins of this virus. And the answer was quick and direct from China. Essentially, no, we will not accept such an origins tracing plan, as it in some aspects disregards common sense and defies science. And we hope the WHO will seriously review the considerations and suggestions made by the Chinese experts and truly treat the origin tracing of the COVID-19 virus as a scientific matter and get rid of political interference. They also tossed it back at us and said it happened at Fort Detrick. What's significant about their pushback?
Well, first of all, the WHO is trying to recover their reputation somewhat. You know, they conducted an investigation, and it was a sham, because the Chinese officials never let them at any of the raw data or talk to the real people who were involved in this process in the Wuhan laboratory. They had to take the Chinese officials' interpretation of the data. So when They want this investigation and is demanding that as a condition for the investigation. Chinese officials, not surprising, after all of this time, a year plus, they are never going to admit that they were responsible for the origin of this virus. And certainly, even more so, they're never going to admit that they're responsible for the spread of it. And there's evidence, I think, substantial evidence now to support both of those. But Xi is about protecting his image and the CCP. Powerful, competent, and effective. That's why it's on his mind, and that is why he's lying through his teeth about that, because he doesn't want that damaged and weaken the image of his domestic audience, which is his Achilles heel. He can't exist without their support, and that's what this is all about.
And we have to make it clear to the rest of the world, they killed, their ineptness resulted in the deaths of millions of people around the globe and destroyed countless economies, including ours. General Jack Keane, thanks so much.
Yeah, great talking to you, Brian. Have a wonderful weekend.
Absolutely. You too.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.